Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
And we are looking okay there. So, this is from Strange Sounds. And this is the first thing I looked at when I looked at Strange Sounds today. It says, banned from ad provider will need your help. Strange Sounds covers a lot of weird things. It does cover UFO, alien-ish things, but it really seems to focus mostly on Earth changes with the awareness that there's more going on, to the Earth changes than just natural cycles. So he's sharing, and his name is Manuel, who runs this site. I'm reaching out to you with some difficult news. Our ad partners have suspended Strange Sounds. We do not have the option to appeal their decision. There you go, and they don't include details for proprietary reasons. They don't let you know. Again, this is, part of the world that we live in is that, the big corporations, and many of you have experienced this. If you have a question on something, how long does it take you to actually get a human?
Right.
Forever, and, in the case of YT, for instance, unless you have 100K subscribers, you'll never talk to a human.
Right. And
Never.
That was a couple years ago. They might have even changed that now, to where you just don't get a human anymore. But that was a couple years ago.
Yeah, and so, our main channel, our original channel got stuck at 66,000 and just shy of 67,000. And actually, I think tomorrow we'll be able to post to it again because it got another strike and it had a whole bunch of videos removed. They've been removing videos every day. Pretty much, and I haven't looked over there this morning to see what is there new today,
Right. Right. They're just constantly trying to make sure that they have more and more control of the information that bleeds out to everyone.
So one of the things I wanted to share is came through again last night, a message from the guides, and it was just saying that, they are going to, when we say they, we mean the powers that be on this planet and this matrix, they're going to be squeezing people economically. And, I knew that as soon as I had seen the blurb about the IRS. As you see, the Treasury confirms, this was from May 20th last year, 2021, that number 46 plans to hire 87,000 new IRS agents, enough to fill national parks twice. That's a massive amount of people. When you look at right here, IRS budget and workforce, you see that at peak they were at 95,000 people, probably like around 2012, 2011. And then they declined down to just over 75,000 people as far as their full-time positions. And now, the plan is to more than double that. So you gotta say, why? That's massive. Mm-hmm. What company is planning on going out there and doubling its workforce? There's something big there.
Right. There absolutely is. There's something that they need to beef up, some kind of layer of information, or they're expecting a certain amount of information to come in, or they're definitely going to need, and require the manpower to cover.
We're going to share some of a message from Laurel talking about the changes going on and everything going on our planet towards the end here. But first, we do want to thank all you guys for your support on Patreon, because we really couldn't do it without you. We want to encourage you guys. Also, check out Medicinal Foods. This is the Pineal Awakening Protocol. They have an article that talks all about consciousness, and this is some of the products that can help you with that. Again, this is a war of consciousness and a war of freedom in so many ways. And make sure you do use the coupon code EEA, and it gets you a discount and also supports the channel. And so when you see this from Freightwaves talking about the angry truckers, and they're angry over those dates for men, they're rolling towards Canada's capital, and we can't say, this is a word that PROTEST, that is automatically demonization, as we talk about dollars. Yeah, that it's an automatic. If you put it anywhere in your header, if you put it anywhere in your keyword search, boom, that's just something that gets slam dunked, so to speak.
Absolutely. That's one vocabulary word that we've learned over and over again. You just don't dare use it.
Not if you want to keep,
Well, not if,
financially
right.
your head above water and being able to, again, have something coming in. As you see, this might be the world's longest convoy ever. It probably is. And there's a lot of videos coming out about this, as literally thousands of people, tens, thousands, hundreds of thousands, people have talked about millions of people eventually at some point along the way taking part, watching. It's pretty big. And let's see if we... So, celebration of unity, and one that's growing. And that's a beautiful thing because, again, the 1/10,000th of 1% is what's really controlling this reality. And simple terms, it's not fair.
No, it's not fair, not at all. But I just love how, the guides have been telling us this is a time for healing, and it's a time to work on our upper chakras, specifically our throat chakras. And as we do this, we can see so many amazing things are happening as long as we hold that intent that we are going to keep our sovereignty.
So we see it reaches Ontario ahead of Weekend Rally in Ottawa. And then we see Trucker Convoy might not get the $5 million that was raised in a GoFundMe, right? That's, you got to say, what's up with this? GoFundMe, stuff like that, again, should be kind of untouchable when people are giving to support something they believe in. Yeah, just a little bit shy of that $5 million goal. And what's going to happen with that money? And again, this is part of the battle that we find ourselves in. And then you see this particular officer is under investigation because she supported it. She said, yeah, I'm in support of this. I think people should have their freedom and their rights to choose what they want to do with their life. And in this world, I guess if you're in certain positions, you're not allowed. Just that simple.
No, you're not. And this is something that, we've also ran into trouble with, like strange things happening to us. Someone said that they received a voice message from me, and that was just really crazy because I did not call them. We hadn't called anybody. And so these little weird things are happening even in our lives. And this is what we are doing. We're trying to help people understand the reality.
Well, we were talking about Canada, and it was just admitted 90% of all communications by Canadians were monitored without anybody letting them know. So, yeah, I mean, they could access your smartphone. They could send a message for you if they want to. Yep. They could cancel an important meeting. They could do all sorts of things. It sounds like it's craziness, but no, it's just simple reality. Because, again, the technology is their technology. And looking over at the Ukraine, we see U.S. citizens told, depart Ukraine now by any means possible in a new embassy alert. And no need to have your bags packed. Just, get out of there, right? Again, we don't know when anything will start, if it'll start, what the response will be. Again, part of this is feeding these fourth density entities that feed off of the loosh. And again, loosh is a negative form of emotional energy that certain beings do feed on. And, when we recognize, again, the power structure that we have, it's not looking out for the cattle. It's looking out for the shepherds.
Right, exactly. It's making sure that in which they want to control is remaining definitely under control.
And you see underlying, there's different things going on. There's things going on at the level of the politicians and the governments. And then there's things going on with the average people. And social unrest erupted on Tuesday outside the parliament building in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, amid escalating tensions between the U.S. and Russia over Ukraine. So there was new rules put into effect again. Taxes. New rules over taxes, changes in taxes implemented this year. And this was about taxes. This wasn't about, hey, support for Ukraine or support for Russia controlling Ukraine. This was about money and taxes. And again, there's different forms of slavery. There's outright slavery, and then there's economic slavery. This system is about economic slavery. It's a covert form of slavery that, the slaves don't even realize they're in it. But again, when your property could be taken from you, maybe for as little as $2 in unpaid taxes, and it could be taken from you, even when you've bought it outright, paid taxes over decades, and you miss 1 year or don't fully, and they could take it from you, and they could do it with eminent domain anyway. Nothing is really yours in a system like this.
No, it's not. And, until people really sit down and look at that and understand the unfairness of it all, we're not going to stand up for what is right. Personally, I don't think that any part of our Mother Earth should be bought and sold in any way, shape, or form. But if it is going to be used in that way, at least make it harmonious for all involved.
And when we see they got close, as it says here, all hell broke loose, right? They managed to break through the fence, came very close to Parliament. When you see the citizens getting right at the gates of those that are making all these laws, they're really riled up. And this is what was going on in the Netherlands too, and we couldn't get that video monetized, and they still, after like 6 days, they still haven't reviewed it. But they do review things on Evolutionary very quick. Yep. Because they really have it in for Evolutionary, and they review them and always say, they're upholding, pulling down the video, or they're, nothing's monetized in Evolutionary. And really the ad revenue that comes through now that it's been so choked is barely even worth bothering with. And this video, I'm sure, is going to come up, that's not going to be. But, we have to keep speaking up. And so Justice Stephen Breyer is going to retire, 27 years. And so he's one of the liberal justices, and this will allow number 46 to appoint a successor who could serve for several decades. That's just wrong. None of these people should be entrenched. And you got NP looking at, she's 81? And she's looking to keep going. You got the number 46 himself, that's like 79 going on 110. It's just ridiculous. The whole system is just a mess. And BJ is in trouble, as you see photos of him with wine bottles at Downing Street parties, because, hey, what about all these other people, from Newsom to Trudeau to Macron? We know it's not what they do, it's what they say. They expect people to obey the laws they put into effect, but that doesn't have any bearing on what they do themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's, do as I say, not as I do syndrome.
Absolutely. And it's become so stark and outright. Mm-hmm. And again, that's a part of, be in a place that you feel has a little bit more freedom than perhaps others, though it could be targeted. We recognize that. Mali demands Denmark immediately withdraw its special forces. So Mali's military government on Monday called on Denmark to immediately withdraw its 100 recently arrived special force troops deployed to the troubled country. And, this was just getting me thinking about the colonialism, because there's, as we had said, in 2017, it was stated that the U.S. has troops in 90% of the countries around the world. 90%. There was only like 15 countries, 16 countries that didn't have troops in. That's insane. Obviously, it's the police force of the corporate world. And now the corporate world is looking to the fine dining ware country to lead the way because it has an even better system for them to utilize. Stock market's having its worst year ever. There you go. And again, more than 50% of Americans don't have any vested interest in the stock market directly.
Right, exactly. You just got to keep looking at these things, and you add them up, and then nothing makes sense after
No,
that.
it's praying for breadcrumbs from the ultra rich is what it is. This is, it's that whole trickle down economics that, hey, it's going to trickle down to us someday, but that's why the rich poor gap has just widened and widened, especially since the plague upon the land, to basically going back into medieval times. It's serfs and lords and ladies.
And even still, if anything does end up benefiting us, believe me, it benefits them some way, shape, or form 3 or 4 times more.
Yes. Or maybe 10 or maybe 100x.
Exactly, right.
So this legendary investor, Jeremy Grantham, predicts the S&P is going to crash 50%. So he's predicting we're going to have another 2008-ish or worse crash. And we know there's going to be a financial reset. And we know that what comes out will not be tangible. It's not going to be something that you could just pull out of your pocket and, make a deal with your neighbor. No. It's got to be taxed. It's got to be tracked. Every single thing, every single transaction over a certain amount is already being documented, yet we don't know what these ultra rich do because they're, behind corporate umbrellas. And while they might show just a paltry $100-200 million in assets, the corporations have billions. Yeah. And that's really theirs. And again, when they manufacture and make the money, I saw an article saying there was more money put in circulation, more cash, actual printed dollars put in circulation in the last 2 years than I think in the last previous 10. Again, they just can do whatever they want, whether it's adding another digit or taking another digit away from somebody else. And we are looking at the sunspot numbers here, shifting gear a little bit. Look at that peak right there. That's daily sunspots. So you see, they have the sun's woken up. It's definitely, and it's waking up more dramatically than really intended when we look to the projections. And will that trend continue? And does that mean we'll get some perhaps disruptive CMEs? It's very possible.
It sure is. This is another thing that we just, we get to keep an eye on it.
So the country of Malawi, a huge portion of it is actually underwater right now because of flooding from Tropical Storm Anna. This is massive, massive flooding. I mean, just look at that. Most of the country is underwater. And this is the type of thing that we have going on. About 500,000 people may be impacted by this. It's sad. Let's send our prayers over there. We have at least 2 killed, 50 injured after a 5.3 quake hits Haiti and some aftershocks there. And of course, we've seen much bigger ones in Haiti. Haiti is one of those places that can get rocked by 7s plus. And then we had 25 inches of snow in western Kansas. That's a lot of snow.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, and the tendency is going to be towards getting colder. And I saw this cute meme. Do you remember the movie Red Room?
Yes, The Shining.
The Shining.
Yes.
The Shining. And you remember how it ends up with Jack Nicholson's character out there in the snow frozen? Well, yeah, they transposed Al Gore's face on that.
No, that's a good one. That's good.
Yeah, because of course, he thought that right now already we'd have no more ice at the poles, and we'd all be drowning in water, so to speak. But we do have a lot of flooding, that is for sure. And with that volcanic type event that we saw in Tonga, as again, that felt very, very artificially flavored. It's definitely looks like we're heading towards some cooling overall. And it's interesting, again, track where the ultra rich like Gil Bates is buying his farmland. Just watch where he's buying his farmland, guys. This is interesting. So we have a big nor'easter that's developing. And, this could be the first real major snow wallop. We'll have to watch this in the Northeast and, through the Maryland, Delaware area, Virginia as well. This one is going to be interesting. So we're going to have to watch and see how this develops. So you can see if you're in the red or the purple, take good note, even in the yellow. Good chance of a major nor'easter developing. And the temps could get down into the mid-20s in central Florida Sunday morning. Brr! Look at that.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that over there in Florida? That's like really cold.
Absolutely. For Florida, that's very cold. It does, like, if you're in Jacksonville, you got to be ready. You will get some cold. And I lived in Palm Coast for a while. And, I noticed a big difference when I got south of Tampa, because I did live in the Orlando area as well. And then I lived down in Port Charlotte and Sarasota, Venice. And big difference. Didn't get as cold down there as it did up in, say, even Orlando. And you look Saturday night, 26 degrees, 31 on Friday night, 34 on Sunday night in Jacksonville. Well, you better get the sweaters and the winter coats out, guys.
Absolutely. Get them ready and get them dusted off. You're going to need them.
So I'm going to play a little bit of a message we got from Laurel. Again, it's all about consciousness. And the reason why I was pointing out that pineal protocol is really when we get to a certain point where people have activated light bodies, Kundalini energy flowing, which is going to be our natural state in every age but the Kali Yuga. And the only reason it's not really our state in the Kali Yuga is because of what we eat, what we drink, what we breathe in, and the energies, the frequencies that we are bathed in. So, again, you could have active Kundalini in the Kali Yuga, especially if you were away from society. And so I'm going to share a little bit of this message. And again, this is Laurel from the Galactic Federation Pleiadian High Council. What do you see happening as far as this military movement, placement of equipment, hardware?
With the military equipment moving across your country, they are getting themselves into a position that is advantageous so that those whom they are trying to control will be easily controlled. There are more plans of upheaval in your country. Those who do not wish to abide by these upcoming laws and regulations, those who wish to keep their sovereignty will be pushing back against the controllers. The controllers are anticipating that there will be many entities who are going to bring themselves forward and push back against the control mechanisms that are going to be used. This is a natural progression of evolution. These things are going to happen in many areas. We encourage all entities to find their own sovereignty and create their own space of freedom. We always recommend that entities use their own energies and their own divine conclusions when it comes to pushing back against the controllers. We are
seeing that they are creating much fear and panic. This does create loosh for the fourth dimension entities. The understanding of the fourth dimension is becoming very clear to many souls as we move along our evolutionary path. As these entities become more and more known, beings will be able to avoid feeding them their own energy. People will find ways to not be angry and act with honest determination and become more deliberate in their actions. This cuts off the food source for the fourth dimensional entities. They will continue to push this agenda until it is no longer useful to them. Everyone coming together in an energetic way to work through these controllers is recommended at this time. Also, healing your own souls from the trauma that has been instilled in your families and your family lineage is recommended, so that energies might come together on their own fourth dimension, headed to the fifth dimension. Your energies are much more powerful once you get past this understanding that the fourth dimensional entities are using you as food.
What is the relationship between the beings we know at... Okay, I'm going to stop on that one right there, because the next part was basically what we covered in the video yesterday, talking about specific beings and how they are actually constructs in so many ways, but real now. Because again, anything that we focus on, and if we have thousands of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, billion, a billion, 2 billion people believing in something, it's going to be real. It's going to manifest. So when we get these prophecies of death and destruction and everything like that, and you really have people think it's totally unavoidable, then they're, in many cases, they might not know, but they are actually manifesting that reality. And, many times I will periodically ask, the guides, is it time where we could stop talking about everything that's going on news-wise and just focus on how do we better ourselves spiritually? And they'll say not enough people are awake. So we still have to keep covering this, and because people have brought up the fact, well, aren't you giving it energy if you speak about it? Yeah, but if you only have, what we've gotten is about 15% of people have active light bodies right now, somewhere at the 15 to at the very most 20%. So these people, when your light body is active, you just know when something is wrong. And again, I like to use the G, know with G, as in gnosis, which is experiential. You feel and you sense that something's wrong. When Cindy and I and many of you look at 46 talk, we know there's not a word that we're going to take, as truth, because we just know.
Right. And I like to look at these things because everyone else who is watching these things go on, I I want to help people understand that there's a different way to do things. We don't have to follow this path. We can move ourselves to a much more harmonious place. It's good that people are standing up for themselves, and I do want to get this information out, but then there's more to it. There's more healing. There's more harmony that can happen here, not just this. So I like to steer people toward that that place where they can find peace in their heart and they don't have to be afraid anymore. People finding their own sovereignty.
Yeah, that's ultimately it. When we have that, when we recognize that we have been giving our own self away, we've been allowing others to make decisions for us. It's becoming very apparent now, that others are making all the choices for us under this illusion of freedom, but it's been an illusion. And now people are waking up to the fact that it is an illusion, and waking up to the fact that, maybe not much really has changed from the days when, people were looked at as peasants and serfs, and the next class is all the way up to lords and ladies. There really is no middle ground. I mean, I remember my parents being so proud that they considered themselves middle class, even though neither one of them ever made more than $20,000 in their life. And again, nowadays, that would be at the poverty level, but they were so proud of that fact, and they were very proud of this country. They grew up in the 40s for the most part, 30s and 40s, so that was a long time ago. And they didn't see all these layers that have been peeled away now, because we are awakening. We are awakening, and this is the great thing, because when we double that percentage, and when we have, say, 30 to 40% of the population of the world with activated light bodies that can no longer be fooled, that's a force to reckon with. And that's going to happen within 10 years, about 10 years time. 10 to 15 years is what they told us that we would be at that point where, and again, many people are just waking up, putting two and two together. They're starting to recognize, certain logic doesn't really work. So they are putting things together using just the left brain without using an activated light body. And again, when we talk about higher density beings, they communicate telepathically. That's the mode of communication that is most used throughout the galaxy. And that's what they do on the higher densities. So it's about sending and receiving energies, certain signatures, which you automatically know and can recognize by the way they feel. We've been taught to put down how we feel. And many people have found that they got to rely on their gut instinct, that their gut instinct often is right. Now, again, it depends on what you're putting into your body and what you're, surrounded by. If you have one of those big towers in your backyard, you might find that you can never focus. You can never really get, a true signal, so to speak, because your own personal signal is being overwritten.
Right, exactly. So again, this is more manipulation of our energy bodies to keep us from going to that place where we can look at a situation and know, well, this is not, this is not organic. This is something that's been created, and that's what they're trying to prevent. They're trying to prevent that first initial awakening of the pineal gland. When you guys look at something and it's BS, then that's the awakening, and they're doing their best to try to stop that, because it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Absolutely. And then we have these breakaway civilizations, and again, at any time, any one individual can ascend. It is something that could be done. As we've shared, tens of thousands of cases of Buddhist monks achieving a rainbow body and no longer being on this plane of existence. If that's what they really want to do, and you really want to put the time and effort and focus into it, it can happen. And when I'm doing mantras, often, really, it's just a matter of how much focus I put into it. It could get to be where I don't even really recognize the physical body anymore. All I'm feeling is my energy body. My consciousness is completely shifting to my energy body. And, if I was in that type of life, I'm sure I could probably blink out too of this existence and be out of this matrix, but it's not our job.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yes, they have told us we got about 10 years, and then we might be able to talk about retirement in 10 years' time. 10 years, we got to get through this difficult period. And again, I'm looking at it in stages, as I've shared. I think that, this is going to be the most challenging year we've had ahead of us. And then, of course, we have a peak 2024 to 2025, and then I'm looking at 2030-ish as the beginning of, again, if we follow what they're saying, you might have 30 to 40% of the world having activated light bodies where you cannot fool them anymore. You cannot fool them. And this is why we have everything going on that we see, because they know it's inevitable. And they're just trying to salvage as much of the herd as possible.
Absolutely. It's that old thing where they're trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip, and by golly, they're going to find a way. If there's a little bit of something to be had to benefit them, they're going to find a way. So we have to take our responsibility and do our due diligence and make ourselves strong, get in touch with our higher self and become as healthy as possible so that we can eventually rise up and have a whole new perspective and live in a whole new place.
Yes, and so I'm going to ask my beautiful wife if she will give us a couple dings on the way out of this video.
Yes.
And because this always helps people. And again, it depends on where you are in your own personal journey.
You know what we're going to do today? This is a little bit different. I'm going to do the it's the weighted forks. So you guys will hear very little, but I think you're going to feel a lot. So let me know how that goes. And we're going to go ahead and start right now. So I don't know if you could hear the hum, but this one is quite powerful. I bet you a lot of you felt it. So let us know. And thanks for listening. And source bless and namaste.
Namaste.